The wind carried a damp, metallic tang as Emma Larson stumbled to the muddy path along the riverbank. A low, trembling whine pierced the fog, pulling her forward, desperate, mournful, unmistakably alive. Her boots sank into the wet earth, and the German shepherd's cries grew louder, closer, until she saw it. Fur-soaked, eyes wide with panic, tail tucked. The dog led her past the reeds and fallen trees, to a spot where the water shimmered like black glass. Something floated there, half hidden by ripples. Emma froze, stomach twisting. Her chest tightened as realization clawed at her. Whatever it was, it had already broken her world. The morning had begun like any other in the small riverside town of Millhaven, where the mist rolled off the water like a gray curtain and the air tasted faintly of moss and decay. Emma Larson had been driving her old pickup along the winding dirt road, her mind tangled with bills, overdue letters, and the kind of loneliness that weighed heavier than any backpack. She'd just passed a rickety sign marking the edge of town when she heard it. The first cry. Low, shaky, heartbreaking. Not a human sound, though it carried the same raw, unfiltered pain. Emma stopped, heart thudding, scanning the foggy edge of the riverbank. A German shepherd emerged, slick and muddy, shaking water from its thick coat, its eyes locked with hers, desperate, pleading, as if the dog knew she might be the only one who could understand. Hey there, Emma called softly, her voice trembling despite her attempt at calm. What's wrong, boy? The dog whined again, spinning in a tight circle, paw at the ground, then darting a few steps down the bank. Emma hesitated, then followed. The mud sucked at her boots, and the reeds scraped against her jeans as the dog led her through a maze of fallen branches and puddles. Her phone was dead. No signal. Just a fog, the river, and that persistent whine, which now carried a note of urgency that made her stomach churn. As they reached a bend in the river, the water dark and still, Emma saw it. A body, or part of one, floated face down near the edge, half submerged. The dog's whining intensified, desperate, almost accusatory. Her breath caught, stomach twisting violently. She wanted to turn away, to convince herself it was some piece of driftwood. But the sight made her knees buckle. The victim was a woman, maybe in her early 30s, her clothes clinging to her form, hair plastered to her face with river water. There was a deep gash across one arm, but the most disturbing thing was a blankness in her eyes. Emma forced herself to kneel by the water's edge, feeling the icy spray against her hands as she touched the floating body. She could not find a pulse. She couldn't breathe. The dog's whine became a low growl, not aggressive, but protective, sorrowful. Emma staggered back, stomach heaving. Her mind raced. She needed help. The town sheriff, maybe the coroner. But the fog hung thick, the road back swallowed by gray. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. Okay. I've got to call someone. Her old pickup groaned as she pushed the mud to retrieve her phone. Signal flickered. One bar. Enough. She dialed, hand shaking. Sheriff Callahan? Her voice barely carried over the river's hush. There's someone in the river. I don't know. Please, you need to come. The line went quiet for a moment. Then a gruff voice answered. Emma? Where are you? She gave him directions, each word trembling. The line clicked dead before she could finish. Signal lost again. She slammed the phone onto the dashboard and turned back to the river. The dog was standing rigid, ears perked, tail stiff, staring at something in the reeds. Emma's eyes followed. A second body floated, smaller this time. A child, 7, maybe 8, judging by the size of clothes sticking to the water. Emma felt the air leave her lungs in a sharp whoosh. A scream caught in her throat. Her fingers dug into her own arms, nails biting the skin. Her legs felt like lead, her brain screaming to run, to escape, to wake up from whatever nightmare had washed over Millhaven in the fog. The German shepherd barked sharply, snapping her attention back to the river. Then it nudged her hand with its wet nose, insisting she look closer. Emma swallowed the bile rising in her throat, then noticed a small, tattered stuffed rabbit floating next to the child, waterlogged, limp, and horrifyingly innocent amidst the horror. Emma whispered, trembling, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" The dog whined, nudging her again. Its eyes were wide and intelligent, almost human in their grief. It pawed at the riverbank, digging shallow marks in the mud, then looked back at Emma. She realized too late this dog had found them first. Somehow it had survived. Somehow it had wanted her to see. The fog thickened, curling over the water like a living thing. Emma's mind raced through the possibilities, none of them comforting. Murder? Accidental drowning? Or something far worse? There was a pattern. She realized a cold, sick rhythm that made her skin crawl. The child, the adult, both placed near the river, both still and silent. The distant sound of tires crunching through gravel finally reached her ears. Sheriff Callahan arrived, flanked by deputies, the sheen of disbelief on their faces matching her own. They moved cautiously, assessing the scene. Emma stepped aside, letting them take over, but she couldn't move, not entirely. She felt tethered to the riverbank, to the dog that refused to leave her side, to the bodies bobbing gently in the cold water. Emma, Callahan's voice was low, hesitant. Did you see? He gestured vaguely. She nodded, unable to speak. He crouched by the river, pulling the woman closer to shore than the child. Both were cold, unyielding. Callahan's jaw tightened. God, this isn't accidental. Emma's hands were shaking so badly she couldn't lift them. The dog circled her, whining softly, then nuzzled her leg. She stroked its wet fur, feeling a strange bond form in the shadow of horror. Whoever had done this, they hadn't considered that the dog would survive, that it would find someone who cared enough to follow. Hours passed like frozen moments. Investigators arrived, cameras clicked, notes were taken, but Emma stayed rooted to the spot. She watched the dog, saw it glance at her, then toward the dense tree line where the fog swallowed everything beyond. There was a message in that gaze, something she didn't yet understand, something dark and waiting. By sunset, the riverbank was cleared, the bodies taken, and the town murmured with whispered shock and fear. Emma couldn't sleep, haunted by the cries of the dog, the sight of the child's stuffed rabbit bobbing in the current, the blank eyes that would not leave her memory. She scrolled through her phone again, messages from old friends, reminders she had ignored. Nothing mattered. Only the dog's eyes, wide and knowing, haunted her. Before she went to bed, she placed a small bowl of water and scraps of food near the back door. The dog waited in the shadows, silent now, its coat muddy and damp, but its gaze unwavering. Emma whispered softly, "We'll figure it out, I promise." And as she drifted into uneasy sleep, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying a promise of secrets yet to be unearthed, of betrayals buried deeper than the riverbed, and of a darkness that had only just begun to surface. If you're following along and want to see what happens next, you know where to find me. Your support really helps stories like this reach more people. The fog lingered long into the morning, curling through the skeletal trees along the riverbank as Emma drove back into Millhaven. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles whitened. She had barely slept. Images of the child and woman haunted her, etched into her mind like scars. The dog had followed her home, sitting silently in the yard, head tilted, eyes luminous with grief and something else she couldn't name. At the diner, the town's unofficial information hub, Emma tried to catch a familiar face. The place smelled of coffee and burnt syrup, a cloying sweetness that made her stomach twist in memory of the river. Old Mrs. Larkin, perched at the counter, looked up as she entered. Her eyes were sharp, almost accusing. "You look like hell, Emma," Mrs. Larkin said, voice low, though the diner hummed with quiet conversation. "That dog of yours didn't lead you to anything good, did it?" Emma stiffened. I found them, Mrs. Larkin. The woman, the child floating in the river." A long pause, Mrs. Larkin's fingers tightening around her coffee mug. "God, help us, you're telling the truth. That's the Miller girl and her mother. Poor things." Her eyes flicked toward the back window, toward the trees lining the river. "Millhaven's been hiding things for a long time, Emma. Don't expect the truth to come easy." Emma's chest tightened. Hiding things? Her mind replayed the fog, the dog, the placid water concealing horrors beneath. "What do you mean?" The old woman hesitated, then leaned closer. Some folks here think the river takes what it wants. Others, they take it themselves. Keep your eyes open, child, and keep the dog close. The words made Emma shiver, but she didn't ask more. There was too much else to think about. Sheriff Callahan had returned to town with grim news. The river's victims were part of a string of disappearances no one had talked about. No names had ever surfaced publicly, but quietly, Millhaven whispered. For years, children and mothers had vanished. Some found later in the river, some never at all. Emma sat in the sheriff's office, the dog lying at her feet, fur damp and muddy from the night before. Callahan's office smelled faintly of stale tobacco and old paper. He looked older than she remembered. Weariness etched into the corners of his eyes. "We don't know who's doing this," Callahan said, voice low, almost apologetic. "But someone's been targeting families. Women, children. It's been going on for at least a decade, maybe more. Someone organized. Someone careful." Emma's stomach turned. "But why the dog? Why lead me?" Callahan rubbed his forehead. "Animals see things we don't. Dogs especially. They have instincts we can't begin to understand. This one, he's trying to tell you something." The dog whined softly, nuzzling Emma's hand. She swallowed. Somehow, she believed the sheriff. Somehow, she feared what that meant. The investigation took on a surreal quality. Neighbors whispered when Emma passed, some turning their heads, others staring too long. Suspicion rippled through Millhaven, infecting old friendships and shallow trust. A small town, so long insulated, was cracking from the inside out. Emma couldn't shake a name she kept hearing in hushed tones. Lawrence Pierce. Wealthy, influential, and untouchable, or so the townspeople believed. His mansion sat on a hill overlooking the river, a gaunt silhouette against the foggy sky. Rumors tied him to disappearances, but no evidence had ever been found. Everyone feared him. Everyone obeyed him silently. That evening, the dog led Emma to the river again. The water was black and smooth, reflecting the gray sky above. The reeds whispered secrets she couldn't hear. She followed the dog to a small clearing, where footprints muddied the bank, some fresh, some older. The child stuffed rabbit, now retrieved and dried, lay nearby. She picked it up, feeling the soft fabric between her fingers. Her throat tightened. She didn't notice the figure emerging from the fog until it was nearly beside her. Lawrence Pierce, tall, composed, his eyes unnervingly calm, regarded her with faint curiosity. "You've been following that dog," he said, voice smooth, controlled. "I admire persistence. Dangerous, though, for both of us." Emma took a step back. What did you do?" "You know about the river. Don't lie to me." Pierce smiled faintly, almost kindly. "I know things, yes. But accusations, they're messy. They ruin lives. I prefer caution." The dog growled low, warning, eyes fixed on Pierce. He didn't flinch. Instead, he crouched slightly, extending a hand toward the animal. "Good boy, Calm. I mean no harm." Emma's chest tightened further. She wanted to strike, scream, run, anything. "Stay away from me. From the river." Pierce's expression shifted, a flicker of amusement hiding something darker. "Oh, Emma, the river doesn't belong to you, and neither does the truth. Be careful who you trust here." And then he was gone, swallowed by the fog, leaving Emma trembling, the dog pacing anxiously by her side. Back in her house, Emma tried to sleep. She couldn't. Her dreams were haunted by the river's edge, the floating bodies, and Pierce's calm, unnerving smile. The dog stayed at her side, tail tucked but eyes alert. Emma realized something she hadn't fully admitted. The dog wasn't just guiding her. It was protecting her. Something about her presence mattered to it, though she didn't yet know why. The following days brought disturbing discoveries. Old newspaper clippings, hidden in the local library's archives, told stories of children and women vanishing. Notes scribbled in margins suggested someone had been tracking these disappearances for decades. Each discovery deepened the gnawing suspicion that Millhaven had been complicit, or at least willfully blind. Then came the betrayal. Detective Harris, a friend she trusted, came to her late one night, hands trembling, voice low. "Emma, you don't understand. I've been following Pierce, too. But I can't, he hesitated, glancing nervously at the dog. I can't go against him. He'll destroy me, my family. Emma's eyes filled with disbelief and anger. You've known, and you did nothing. Harris lowered his gaze. I was trying to keep everyone safe, including you. Emma's fists clenched. Safe? You call letting them die safe? The dog barked sharply, snapping her attention back to window. Shadows moved just beyond the glass. Emma's pulse surged. Pierce, or someone like him. Someone watching, always. The night stretched into tense hours of silence. Emma and the dog kept vigil, eyes darting to every sound, every shadow. She realized the river's horror was far from over. Pierce had power, influence, and cunning. The town's complicity ran deep. Every friend, every ally, potentially a threat. Morning came, gray and heavy. Emma made a decision. She would confront Pierce, but not blindly. She would follow the dog, follow the clues, piece together the hidden truths. The town might be paralyzed with fear, but she could not be. Not anymore. The river had claimed too much. The dog's mournful eyes reminded her that innocence had already been lost. And now, it was up to her to fight for what remained. By noon, Emma was driving toward Pierce's mansion, mind spinning with plans and contingencies. The dog sat alert in the passenger seat, ears perked, every muscle taut. They arrived at the foot of the hill, the mansion looming like a fortress of secrets. She could feel it, the weight of centuries of hidden sins pressing against the walls. Somewhere inside, she knew, was the key to everything. The truth about the river, the disappearances, the people who would let it happen, and the darkness lurking behind Pierce's calm exterior. The dog whined softly, as if reminding her of the promise she had made, not just to the victims, but to herself. Emma took a deep breath. The hunt had truly begun. The fog thickened, rolling down the hill like a wave of whispered warnings, but Emma didn't flinch. She was ready to face whatever waited within, knowing that betrayal, danger, and unspeakable truths lay ahead. And perhaps, if she was careful, she could stop the river from claiming anyone else. The mansion loomed like a dark sentinel, its windows blank eyes staring down the hill at the river that had claimed so much. Emma parked at the gravel driveway's edge, the dog pacing anxiously beside her. She had no illusions. Pierce was powerful, calculating, untouchable to the town. But she also knew he was human. He had weaknesses. The dog whined softly, nudging her hand. Together, they were the only ones brave, or foolish, enough to challenge him. Inside, the air was cold, sterile, with a faint scent of aged wood and something metallic underneath. Portraits of Pierce's family stared down from the walls, all smiles frozen in oil paint. Emma's pulse quickened. She moved cautiously, every step measured. The dog's ears twitched, its low growl vibrating through the air. You're persistent, Pierce's voice came from the shadows. Calm, deliberate, unnervingly pleasant. He emerged from behind a column, a glass of amber liquid in hand, like a man in command of the world. I wondered how long it would take before you followed. Emma swallowed, gripping the dog's collar. Why? Why the river? Why the children? Pierce's smile didn't falter. Why does anyone do anything? Control, power, fear. People are fragile, Emma, easily broken. And yet, the town likes to pretend it's innocent. He stepped closer, fingers brushing the edge of a desk as if to mark territory. I merely facilitated what needed to happen. Emma's stomach turned. Facilitated? Pierce shrugged. A boy loses a toy in the river. Do we cry? No. We let it go. Sometimes lives slip away the same way. It's messy, but it's natural. You should understand that now. The dog growled sharply, baring teeth, hackles raised. Pierce's gaze flicked to the animal, then back to Emma. I see why you're here. That dog has been loyal, hasn't it? To the wrong family, to the wrong people. Emma tightened her grip. You're sick. All of this. You've taken lives for what? Pleasure? Power? Pierce laughed softly, a sound devoid of warmth. Pleasure? No. Information. Compliance. Fear is a language, Emma, and Millhaven speaks it fluently. A sudden noise behind the stairs caught Emma's attention. Detective Harris emerged, pale, sweating, eyes wide. "Emma, he knows I came to you." He's going to." His voice faltered. Pierce's expression darkened. "Harris, how sweet of you to join us. I see loyalty isn't your strongest trait. How disappointing." Emma's heart raced. Harris had been a friend, a confidant. Yet here he was trembling. The weight of betrayal, the moral grayness, pressed down on her. Every decision she made now mattered. One wrong move, one hesitation, and the river's victims could claim another soul, maybe hers. The dog barked, lunging forward. Pierce flinched but didn't retreat. "You'll have to do better than that, boy," he said, voice sharp now, edged with genuine annoyance. Emma's eyes scanned the room, taking in the heavy curtains, the sharp corners of furniture, the polished floor reflecting shadows, like eyes watching her every move. She realized she had one advantage, the element of surprise. Pierce had assumed she was just another frightened citizen, a pawn to watch. But fear could be weaponized too. She shifted, taking a deep breath, voice steady. "You underestimated me." Pierce's eyebrows arched. "Did I?" Emma moved faster than he anticipated, grabbing a heavy brass lamp from the side table and swinging it at the edge of the desk. Pierce's reflexes were sharp, but the lamp struck the corner of a shelf, sending books tumbling and creating a brief distraction. The dog lunged simultaneously, teeth aimed at Pierce's arm, and he finally reacted with a startled yelp. Harris, seemingly finding courage in the chaos, pushed past Emma, grabbing Pierce's wrist to restrain him. But Pierce twisted violently, knocking Harris off balance. "You betray me too?" Pierce hissed, fury cracking his veneer of calm. Emma froze for a split second, heart hammering. Then her eyes fell on the floor-to-ceiling window behind Pierce. The dog had been watching, silent now, its stance tense. The river, the looming memory of the fog, the floating bodies, the child, the woman. Everything pressed into her mind. "Emma," Harris gasped, clutching his shoulder. "We can't, Hill." "Do it," Emma whispered, not to him, but to the dog. For a moment, the dog paused, head tilting, then darted toward the window. It leapt, pawing at the latch. The window creaked open, and Pierce turned in rage, realizing too late that escape routes could be used against him. Emma lunged forward, shoving him toward the opening. The struggle was violent, a blur of limbs, furniture, and tension. Finally, Pierce stumbled. Harris grabbed his other arm, and the three of them pushed him through the window into the night air. The fog was thick, and the riverbank lay just beyond the mansion's edge. The dog barked sharply, circling, guiding them toward the edge. Pierce, coughing, scrambling, realized too late that the very river he had manipulated for years now threatened him. His foot slipped on the muddy slope, and for a long moment he dangled precariously. Emma felt her stomach twist. There was no satisfaction in watching, only the grim weight of inevitability. Pierce's grip faltered. The river embraced him with cold indifference. Silence followed, broken only by the dog's low whine and Emma's shallow breaths. The night seemed to exhale. Hours later, in the safety of her home, Emma sat on the floor, the dog curled at her feet, fur damp but warm. Harris, bruised and shaken, leaned against the wall, head in his hands. Neither spoke for a long time. Words felt futile. Finally, Emma whispered, "It's over. For now." The dog nudged her hand, eyes steady, unblinking. Emma understood. The river's secrets might be quiet tonight, but it remembered the weight of lost lives, the ripples of betrayal, the darkness hiding behind Millhaven's veneer. These things lingered. The dog had led her, guided her through horror, and now, together, they had survived it. Harris looked up, voice trembling. You did it. How did you?" Emma shook her head. "Not me. Him." She nodded to the dog, whose tail wagged faintly. "He showed me what I needed to see." The morning sun began to pierce the fog outside, illuminating the quiet town. Millhaven would whisper again, rumors would spread, secrets would fester. But for Emma, there was a fragile, terrifying sense of closure. She had faced the darkness, confronted betrayal, and survived. The river would always hold its memories, but now, at least, there was one guardian ready to remember and protect. She stood, brushing mud from her jeans. Harris rose slowly, still wary. Emma's eyes lingered on the dog, her constant companion through horror and despair. She smiled faintly, voice low. "We've done what we could. That's enough." Harris nodded. For now, outside, the river moved silently, indifferent to human triumph or tragedy. Its surface glittered with early sunlight, masking the horrors beneath. Emma understood something profound. Some things could never be fully cleansed. Some truths would always linger like fog along the riverbank. And yet, hope, fragile and trembling, persisted. The dog barked softly, nudging her again. Emma reached down, stroking its head. "Come on, let's go home." And as they walked back toward the town, side by side, Emma felt the quiet echo of lives saved, lives lost, and a bond forged through grief, loyalty, and unshakable courage. Millhaven would never be the same. Neither would she. But somehow, amid the fog, the river, and the shadows, a measure of peace remained.